Hi, my name is Simon and welcome to my garage. In this episode, I'm gonna give you a step-by-step guide of how to do your very first maintenance or service on your car. So let's jump into it. Before you're doing anything with your car, you simply need to go through the maintenance manual or instructions book. This is where it's stated what parts needs to be replaced at this specific mileage or kilometer of your car. In the case of this example I'm going to show, it's my neighbor's car, it's a Suzuki, and it basically just needs to have its oil filter, air filter, brake fluid changed. But I'm going to go through some more parts which definitely you should do as well, but we'll get into that in a little bit later. The reason why you need to go through what needs to be replaced is so you can pre-order all the parts already, and also so that you are able to follow the manufacturer's guide of what needs to be replaced. It's very important. So if we look over here, you can actually see the car is already ready and lifted on the lift. But before you do that, you need to take it for a test drive, so you are able to listen for any unwanted noises, vibrations, wear or whatsoever. It could be that you already at your test drive you see that the steering wheel is misaligned, and that could actually be that you have a worn out bushing somewhere or the wheels needs to be aligned. This is hard to detect when it's already on the lift. Alright, and another reason, I'm just going to find something here. Another reason for the test drive is also so you heat up the engine. It'll make the oil flush much better from the where the oil is stored. So when the car is completely cold, it's actually very thick, the oil, and it can be a little, you don't get it out that easily. So let's jump right to it. Before removing the wheels, what you want is, you want to move the wheel horizontally first. When you're doing that, you're actually checking the integrity of the tie rods, which is connected to the steering rack. If there is some wear here, it's most likely them. What we have here is not that, it's simply just the wheels moving. After you have pulled it horizontally, you want to do the same vertically. And when you're doing it vertically, what you're actually checking is the top bearing of the suspension, which is all the way up here, and at the same time the bottom frame joint, which you have at the very lower point here. So it is the whole wheel front linkage you're checking. When that is done, we're gonna take off the wheel, but first let's do the same on the back wheel. Normally the back or the rear wheel, there is almost never anywhere. If there is that, most likely it's due to the bearing, because it is the front wheel which takes all the load during driving. So let me dismantle the wheel and then let's see what to look for. So the wheel has now been removed and we are able to make an assessment of the right front corner of the car. So first of all, obviously we have the brakes, and this is the part I've not been able to order if they are worn out, because I have not had the time to have a look at them. But you want to inspect that the disc first of all. If there is a big edge, this is a sign they are already worn out, and you can actually go measure them. There is they have a specification of a minimum width they need to have. But an also good indicator is brake pads, which you have here. If they are getting below 4 millimeters, it's also a sign that everything needs to be replaced. And remember to replace all at the same time. When you also when you have the wheel off, you're able to inspect the brake hose. This is a rather new car, but if it's have any dents, it is a sign it's been worn out. Also we have the brake tubes. Now there's absolutely no rust here. Next step is you want to inspect the rubber sealing here around the shaft, drive shaft. These can easily get a crack, and that means the grease will go out and it'll destroy your drive shaft basically very, very fast. So, but here there is nothing, absolutely nothing. We want to go to the next side. We have this bar right here. Yes. And that has a joint in both ends. And if that joint gets worn out, this gets very sloppy. And if it's completely worn out, you're able to hear a dock, dock when you drive over obstacles with your car. This is a little loose, but it's not that bad. So I think we're gonna keep it that way. We already know the tie rod is okay. So that's basically it for the front car assessment. And what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna do the exact same thing on the other wheel, and at the same time I'm gonna start draining the oil because now the car has cooled down a little bit. Alright, I'm down underneath the car and I have just, as you can see, started draining all the oil. While I'm down here, you're able to move on to the next step of the car assessment. Basically, what do you want when you're down here? You need to see, are there any leakages of any kind of fluid? That could be coolant, of course oil, brake fluid or whatever, fluid from the servo mechanism, if any. So basically all hoses, tubes, etc. It could be where flanges meet each other that a gasket could be leaking. So, but it's a visual inspection that you're doing now. And this is a rather new car. There is absolutely no fluid leaking on this car. So I'm gonna remove the oil filter right now and I'm gonna apply a new one, and apply the bolt. And then I'm gonna move on to the back side of the car because we also need to assess the exhaust system for its brackets and rubber linkages. So this is the next step. So I have the rear wheel now removed and I'm making an assessment of the rear brakes and the whole area over here. And what I actually see is that the brake caliper has actually been replaced. Not that long ago, I can see. But at the time they did that, they definitely did not clean where the brake pads are sliding. And that's a big problem because what will happen eventually is that they will get stuck and then only one of the brake pads is going to move. And that's actually a big problem because at the end you could actually risk damaging your brake caliper. Those brake pads, they need to be able to slide without any resistance inside. So I'm gonna dismantle those small metal parts and I have a special tool for grinding off, and then I'm gonna grease it up again so it'll be just like new. And while we're at it here, we have a good access to see the spring from the suspension. And this is when a car gets old, it can actually break. So just a visual inspection and feel what's actually going on is a good thing to do as well. All right, and the next step will then be the exhaust system. So before lowering the car, I'm just going to go underneath it and to see, check up the exhaust system. There are no sounds at all. We have the brackets where it's attached up here. We have another bracket right here. It looks fine. And at the same time, I'm able to inspect if there were any rust on, let's say, a brake tube, the springs and everything. But not right now, I'm just gonna go through the exhaust system. That's the main thing. And you can see we have a rubber bracket here also. When an exhaust gets hot and warm through many years, the steel frame here, or it can easily break, so it becomes the exhaust is basically detached from the rubber, and it's not in this case, so that's just fine. As I said, it's not that old a car. So I'm gonna lower it now and we'll move on. So now I have changed the oil, I have disassembled the rear brakes and greased them up. I have changed the brake fluid as well, just as it says in the maintenance book. So basically what's left now, and what's still important even though it's small stuff, you need of course to reset the oil light in your cabin, but you also need to ensure you have the right pressure in your tires. You need to go through the lighting of the car, because normally that's not done. It's required at a service as well. So front lights, rear lights, tail lights, brake and turn lights of course. And once you're done with that, the hinges of all doors, you need to lubricate them, all where there are moving surfaces. So it needs to be lubricated, otherwise in time it will make an annoying sound. You don't want that. So, alright, I hope you like this video, and as always, feel free to leave a comment, ask a question if you feel need for it. Alright, take care, stay safe. Bye.